Hey guys, how are you today? We're going completely unscripted, so bear with me here because I just really have massive anxiety today. And there's a reason for it. And we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about ways to get out of these little triggers. Do you have a trigger that causes you to want to go eat? And hopefully I don't lose power because it's flickering like crazy up here. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle from Wonderland Wellness, and I am here to help you guys lose the weight that you struggle to lose. I have lost 120 pounds and maintained it for 5 years. Um, but I've also lost 100 and some odd pounds two other times in my life. And the lessons I've learned over this journey of life is what I try to share with you. So let's go back to your eating trigger. In my particular case, one of my eating triggers is anxiety. I have a really, really good reason for this anxiety today. My husband's going in for surgery. The kids are at school. I don't like being in town. We live in the country. I don't like being in town while the kids are at school. It gives me anxiety. These are things that one of the reasons I work from home. So we live 3 miles from the school. It works great, keeps my anxiety low. But with husband having surgery today and me having very high standards for doing this Facebook Live and knowing all of the stuff that's going on, I'm inside my brain. And my brain is making my stomach hurt and making me want to go dig into the cupboards to feel better. I know at this point in my journey that going and digging in that cupboard is not going to make me feel. It is going to make me be upset with myself for choosing food over dealing with what's going on. But even after 5 years, I occasionally have those moments where I want to go and eat every sweet thing in the house. Now, there are things in Dr. Nina's book that I've learned that sweets and filling are wanting love and compassion. And I know that throughout my entire life, I have had issues with anxiety. For crying out loud, I missed over 100 days of kindergarten due to a nervous stomach. So this is a long running thing with me. I am very well aware now of what causes these triggers, which is my very, very first thing that you have to figure out. What triggers you? It doesn't matter if we're talking about a different kind of emotional eating or if we're talking about anxiety like I have. I figured out ways to deal with mine. And so the tips I'm giving today are specifically related to anxiety, but they work for everything. So one of the very first things I do, because my anxiety sits here in my stomach and sits here in my shoulders, is I actually have learned that I have to breathe. And it's huge. It's this particular thing has does makes me quite ill to my stomach. And so I have to make sure that I'm not breathing in short, shallow breaths. So that's the first thing I do is I breathe. We all breathe. I know this sounds stupid. It's a deep, deep breath. And I thought people were nuts when they told me this. But in the big picture, when you force yourself to take a deep breath and open everything up, it allows everything to move within you. And it allows you to think. When we're thinking and dealing with an emotion, anxiety, stress, any of those pieces that typically cause us, we cope with them by running to food. Instead, while you're breathing, I want you to find awareness of what's going on. Regardless of whether or not you understand your connections and where it all comes from, be aware of what's going on. Another thing that I do now to deal with this is move. And that does not mean going and working out for an hour, or 2 or 3, or whatever your particular workout scheme is. I personally think I do half hour, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what I'm doing. And I think that is more than enough. But moving your body helps you release the anxiety, the stress, whatever emotion you happen to be dealing with. This movement actually releases happy chemicals in your brain and helps you combat those things. I am the queen of hurried movement when I get anxious and stressed. And that hurried movement, my husband always says, "Are you mad?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not mad. I'm just trying to get this 75 list of things done." And really getting those things done allows me to escape and separate a little bit and focus my anxiety on something different. So that movement keeps me out of the kitchen and in some ways is an escape mechanism to escape what's actually going on. So that brings me to my final thing, because you can't escape forever. If you escape forever, you're doing nothing but pushing everything down. The final actual thing that you have to do is accept and love yourself, because realize that there is more going on in your outside world than you're processing right now. So giving yourself the grace and the self-love and being curious about what's going on and being gentle with yourself as you're asking yourself the questions to figure out what's going on goes a long way to healing your relationship with the food that you want to use as an escape mechanism. One of my favorite phrases in my head is food is fuel. And when I start wanting to use food for something other than fuel, I start investigating what's going on in my environment, what's going on around me, and why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. One of my favorite statements is weight loss is not about eat less, move more. It's really, in the big picture, it's about, for a lot of us, learning how to eat when we really need to eat, but it's also about eating, not using food to emotionally deal with stuff. Thanks, Susan. Good morning. It's 8:30 here. I'm 2 hours later than normal, but I've been running around like a mad woman dealing with my anxiety this morning. We have to leave in an hour and a half, and we won't be home until this evening. And that just totally freaks me out because of his surgery today. So I was going to talk about something else today, to be perfectly honest with you. But this is one of those things that I always hear. Life happened and it took me off track. Or this big catastrophe happened and I went off track. To go along with all of this, I will also be out of the home all day. So I am packing what I'm going to eat throughout the day so that I have snacks and I'm not starving and I can function while he is in the hospital, and then I don't have to eat the waiting room stuff and I don't have to go get fast food or something like that. So that's just a little side note on prepping for, being away from healthy resources throughout the day. I have to go pack for our day. So In the big picture here, you're dealing with emotional eating, eating because of anxiety, any eating that's not eating as fuel for your body. There's 3 things that you can do. Start off by breathing and open things up and listen to what's going on in your mind. Listen without judgment. Don't be angry with yourself, because if you're angry with yourself, it just adds to everything. I really have worked really hard over the years to listen without judgment and be kind. There are moments where my inner child comes out and I have to be firm, but kind. So, breathing, moving, and be kind when you're listening to yourself and when you're talking to yourself. And that's going to take you a long way to dealing with these emotions that sometimes take us off track in our journey. So I am wanting to make sure that you guys know that you should come join us in the amazing Wonder Sisters over in Women on a 100-Pound Journey to Healthy. We do all kinds of support in there, and everybody in there has been in your shoes or can understand where you're coming from. Come join us. Saturday the 14th at 4:00, we have an amazing speaker coming in, and she is actually the author of You Have Such a Pretty Face. She's a beacon of hope for all of us that have traveled this journey and get stuck and get lost and think that the weight loss is going to solve everything. And she's going to talk about that. She is just absolutely amazing. And her name is Kelly Gunter. She will be there Saturday the 14th. And the only way to get in, the only way to see her come speak live is by being in the group. So with that, I am going to run away, and I want you to remember small steps will get you there, and you can do anything for 5 minutes, even if that means listening to yourself and being kind. Have an amazing day, all. I'm going to send you off with love and hugs. Bye. That is if I can find the button. There it is. Bye, guys.